If you are not yet a member of the Patreon, link is in the description. Please consider becoming a member, as you will have access to many videos you cannot find here on YouTube.
You know, and I called the FBI. I called the FBI in Utah. I called the FBI. I called the Phoenix FBI the day that Charlie was shot. What I interpreted from reading what he was saying, I could tell that there was an urgency. He was aware that he was in danger. He started talking about Charlie Kirk. And I said, well, you know, he's a good kid and stuff. And he goes, yeah, well, he's been slotted for termination. I said, oh, really?
I'm going to tell you all at the end of this video what I believe Charlie found out or realized after the election. And in short, I believe that Charlie Kirk realized that he had become expendable.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.
So just when we didn't think that things could get crazier than crazy, this comes out. One of Charlie Kirk's friends, there's a phone call that just got leaked of Charlie Kirk's friend alleging, and he's not alleging, stating that Charlie Kirk told him in December of 2024, so essentially about a year ago, that he not only feared for his life, but that essentially he didn't trust his security team and the people that was around him. Now, we've heard these rumors. Now, let me just state for the record, this guy is not from Turning Point USA, which isn't surprising at all. This is apparently a guy that's known Charlie Kirk since 2011, and he wasn't able to help Charlie. And the reason he gave that he wasn't able to help Charlie Kirk is even suspicious in itself, because he gives a story about how he believes that the people that were around Charlie Kirk or affiliated with what may have happened to Charlie Kirk strategically had him removed and placed in a position where he couldn't help Charlie Kirk. This is crazy. If you want the unedited or the uninterrupted version of this, go over to Twitter on Project Constitution's channel. Shout out to you, bro. You and I have been talking a little bit behind the scenes. He was the person to bring this to my attention, and I vetted this phone call. It's not AI. This is a real phone call. And as far as like, just use your discernment. This sounds like a real conversation. I believe it. And this falls in line with so many different things. I will be pitching in here throughout the phone call to just give you or additional information as to why this may be valid and to add more validity to this phone call. So again, if you want the uninterrupted version, please go over to Twitter. Please hit the like button if you do not mind, so we can push this video out into the algorithm. As you all know, a lot of videos and channels like mine are usually suppressed and shadow banned. Regardless of what YouTube says, we know how this works. Without further ado, let's get into it.
I have known Charlie Kirk for a number of years. Him and I have communicated over the years extensively, from everything from politics to girls.
Let me stop you for 1 second. I just want to make you aware that I do record all my calls. If you ask me to keep you at...
I was hoping you would. That's fine. And so anyway, over the years, I'll just give you a little background who I am. I'm part of the original crew of Oath Keepers, okay, dating back to 2009. And I first met Charlie in 2011 when he was just a kid. I think he was like 16. I met his dad. And anyway, Arizona. It was the Courtside Liberty Festival in Arizona in 2011, in August of 2011. It was quite hot down there, 117 degrees. But there was an issue down there, and so I put on a rally down there and had several dignitaries there, state senators and so forth, a candidate for governor at the time, Barry Hess, and different things. And anyway, that's how him and I met. So over the years, we communicated, via text, via social media and stuff like that. And anyway, fast forward to December of last year. I had just recently moved back down to Arizona from Northern California. Now, I'm 55 years old, but I was coming back down to Arizona from Redding, moving back down here to Arizona. And this was December. Anyway, I got pneumonia really, really bad. The Legionnaire's pneumonia. And so Charlie sends me a text one night, a message. Now, what I'm telling you, these are all, there's receipts for. In his DMs and mine, I don't have access to my old account, but in his account, they're there, no doubt. So anyway, he contacted me, and he was very adamant about me helping him with security. And he was almost like, how do I put this? The way he was, what I interpreted from reading what he was saying, I could tell that there was an urgency. He was aware that he was in danger, is what I interpreted it, as how I interpreted it. I said, well, hey, we just had the election. I'm sick. We'll get together soon. Okay. Now this is like right before Christmas time. Well, finally on January the 6th, I ended up going to the emergency room at Australia, Banner Health, Australia, on 92nd Avenue here in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, and that's where they found out that I had the Legionnaire's pneumonia and stuff like that. So I told them, I said, hey man, we're going to have to put this off because I'm really sick. So we were scheduled to meet in Phoenix on the 25th of January. Okay, on the 22nd of January, as I'm still going through all this, a person that I had only met maybe for a couple weeks was a neighbor of mine, and him and I and my girlfriend at the time had dinner that night. Well, this was the 22nd, 2 days after Trump got into the office. Well, this guy and I had a heated conversation afterwards about politics. Okay, and he was a member of the academia. He told me he was a former police officer at one time. He was a professor at colleges. He told me that he had educated 400 plus teachers in the Arizona area. Yada yada yada. Anyway,
this guy was your neighbor, you're saying?
Yeah, and I had only known him for, like I said, maybe 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay, because I was sick. Anyway, and all I know is his first name was Mike. I don't remember his last name at all. Couldn't even remember. I tried to find him. But anyway, so the conversation got really heated. He started talking about Charlie Kirk. And I said, well, you know, he's a good kid and stuff. And he goes, yeah, well, he's been slotted for termination. I said, oh, really? So then the conversation really got heated. And he told me I had been slotted for reprogramming. So then now my antennas are up like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
Okay, the fight went down.
I just want to say here, that person sounds like more than just someone in academia. That sounds like one of them boys. That sounds like one of the people that we cover on this channel. I think this person is more than just a college professor. And based on how the rest of this phone call goes, we may be able to confirm that.
And the ironic thing is, I ended up getting arrested for quote-unquote domestic violence. They charged me with a misdemeanor.
Oh, so you got in a fight with the guy.
Yeah, I got in a fight with the guy because I didn't appreciate it. He was over at my house having dinner. Then he starts, talking all this crazy stuff about, and then goes into Kirk and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, now I'm pissed off because I've known Charlie for a number of years. He's a good kid.
Yeah.
And so the fight goes down. Next morning, I'm arrested. So I'm in jail. Okay? That Saturday, the 25th, is when we were supposed to meet, Charlie and I. Okay? If you get into his DMs, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's all there. The receipts are there. But here's what the question needs to be asked. One is this. What did Charlie know in December? What is it that he knew that he was so concerned that he had to reach out to me? Now, I had never done security for him. I had never done security for him at any of his rallies, okay? But he knew who I was, obviously, over the years. He knew what I had done. I mean, when the courts shut down, I had 3 different separate security teams there because I had dignitaries and so forth. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got shot. So he reached, that was the point. But he reaches out to me. So the question is what was it that he knew to make him reach out to me to help him with security? He even offered to pay me. I said, son, don't worry about it. I don't need the money. No, I wouldn't do that I wouldn't help you for money, And so anyway, so there's the first question. The second question is this. If that person said that Charlie Kirk had been slotted for termination, okay, Tyler may have pulled the trigger. What I'm saying is
what it sounds to me like is somebody that was in the know that knew that you were supposed to meet Charlie made it a point to make sure you didn't go to that meeting. They were intentionally sent to where you were to rile you up and to get you arrested. That way you could not keep your meeting with Charlie.
That's exactly what happened.
Now, I almost want to, and I understand that many of you may be inclined to believe that as well, but I don't know if I 100% agree with that because you're still in control of if you decide to put your hands on another person or not. And you just admitted yourself that you fought this person, right? If they hit you first and then you responded, then I would understand that. But if you're hitting this dude because of words that he said, then you kind of place yourself in that position. Yeah, sure. Were they trying to tempt you or put you in a position where you would do it? Maybe, but you're still in control if you decide to do it or not. Now, let's get to the question. You said the first question is, what was it that Charlie Kirk would know in December that would make him want to do something such as reach out to you, that will make him feel in fear of his life? Well, let's go back to December of 2024. Remember, November 5th of 2024 is when we found out that Donald Trump had won the election against Kamala Harris. Now, which I hope, surprisingly, a lot of people on the left that I was surrounded by at the time was actually feeling like Kamala Harris had a chance. And I was like, this politics stuff is so theater. It's like Kamala Harris is such so much worse than Trump in so many different ways that it was laughable that they felt that way. I think it was pretty obvious that Trump was going to win. And that's just for those of you that actually believe in the whole politics and the voting and the whole system. Now, you mean to tell me there's an infamous video of Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk, and the TPUSA crew celebrating on camera on the Charlie Kirk show once the news came in that Donald Trump had been announced as the winner. So just a month later, you're contacting people because you feel so much in fear of your life that you don't trust the people that's around you. That's strange. That's weird, and that's concerning. But it's consistent with what we've been hearing. Harrison Smith, good friend of somebody that's friends with Charlie, stated that just a month before, he said that he feels that foreign nation was going to kill him. Candace Owens has come out and said there were 3 people that said that Charlie Kirk literally said the same exact thing the day before everything happened. Candace Owens, once again, showed a text message of Charlie Kirk saying that years ago, but that may be a little bit unrelated. But he stated that he felt like he wasn't going to live that long. He felt like he was going to pass away working under the guise of Turning Point USA or something to that effect, right? Is it a coincidence that just a month after the election was announced, he felt that way? Many of you would argue, well, maybe it was the left. Maybe he felt like now that Trump was back in office, they were going to come for him. I'm not buying it. Right? The political climate in this country over the past couple of years has been terrible. Terrible, bro. Now all of a sudden you feel like the left is going to find some advanced way to take you out because Trump is... I'm not buying it. Especially when you couple that with the other reports that's come out, right? Well, the second question is essentially them alluding to the fact that Tyler Robinson did not act alone, which I believe many people are under that impression, or some people are even willing to go as far to say that they believe that Tyler Robinson may just be a patsy altogether. Now, back to the first question, I'm going to tell you all at the end of this video what I believe Charlie found out or realized after the election. And in short, I believe that Charlie Kirk realized that he had become expendable, for lack of a better term, and I'm going to tell you why he specifically may have felt that way after the election had been completed. But let's continue.
So, the first question is, what did Charlie know so early to reach out to me, to even offer me money after all these years of knowing him, to help him with the security? There's your first question. The second question is, if Tyler pulled the trigger and this guy said this to me in December, obviously there was a plot.
Yeah, from what we've seen, they've been planning this for a long time.
Yes. So, and I called the FBI. I called the FBI in Utah. I called the FBI. I called the Phoenix FBI the day that Charlie was shot.
And nobody's contacted you from there.
And nobody's contacted me back. I contacted the FBI field office in Salt Lake City, and nobody has called me back.
Wow. Yeah, but that seems to be a recurring theme here. Every one of these people that have witnessed it or I've talked to or whatever that have evidence, they say they've called the FBI or nobody's, even the people that were there that day and saw it and are witnesses. They tell us that the FBI never got their witness statement, never called them, never tried to contact them. Like, I don't know how they're building this rock solid case against Tyler Robinson when they haven't even spoken to the damn witnesses on the ground that day.
And that's before the judge put out the gag order that said that they weren't allowed to speak, which is very odd to put that on 3,000 people that you can't even fully identify, right? But even more so, sometimes the smallest details can be the most damning or the most important details. Remember, there is absolutely very little to no footage of actual student footage from that day. Students' testimonies from that day. That makes no sense, people. That makes no sense. It almost forces people to question if that stuff happened at all. We got this new report coming out that the footage of Tyler Robinson, quote unquote, turning himself in has went missing.
This is wild. Salt Lake City KUTV is now reporting that the surveillance footage of Tyler Robinson turning himself into authorities is missing. 2 News filed a public records request asking for this footage, and they got this response. Quote, "We do not have any records responsive to this portion of the request as Tyler Robinson did not go to or enter the jail area." Which is weird because it was public national news that Tyler Robinson surrendered at the sheriff's office. He was taken into a building marked authorized personnel only. Robinson was kept in the back offices of the sheriff's office and turned over to the FBI and other law enforcement upon their arrival just before 6 a.m. on Friday. So where is this footage? And remember, authorities knew that he was turning himself in because they had negotiated a gentle surrender. So you have to wonder now, did it ever exist? Were cameras turned off? Or did this footage go missing?
Did it ever happen to begin with? Right?
Exactly. And Tyler Robinson, let's just assume he was the shooter. And I'm actually gonna believe that he was the shooter. But okay, that's fine. We can put it all on that as him being the shooter. But he is not the one that had this plot in motion because Charlie was aware of it in December. So, these little messages, little signs and so forth. But nonetheless, those are my questions. What did Charlie know that was so urgent for him to reach out to me, who was 55? I had retired from the scene as far as the Oath Keepers go, a number of years ago, actually. I tried to warn everybody about Ray S. with Stewart. I tried to tell him, hey, this guy's not good. While he was there, we all know what Ray S. is. Now we all know the FBI was involved in J6.
Yep.
But that's besides the point. The point is that Charlie reached out to me. He was concerned. He was adamant. I mean, he was texting me the whole time I was laying in bed with pneumonia.
Yeah, he clearly did not, he was having trust issues, it seemed like, maybe with the security.
There was something going on. He was aware of it. And that was in December.
Gotcha.
So from that point until the time he was killed, the plot was already in motion.
Yep.
Now, here's the deal. They wouldn't let his team, quote-unquote, fly drones that day. Am I right or wrong?
That's what they said, but that's
right.
a lie. They even posted on Charlie's birthday, and they've taken it down since after I called them out on it. Now they're trying to pretend like it didn't happen. But on Charlie's birthday, they even posted a tribute video, and in that tribute video, they posted a short, 9-second section of the drone footage that they took that day.
Right. Yeah, and that's exactly right. And it just makes the whole thing look even more shady, and it almost makes you question if they're contradicting themselves on purpose. Maybe they're not. When you got the head of security coming out weeks and weeks later after Frank Turek has already come out on camera, not to mention the video footage that they're referencing, and said himself that drone footage was used. Now the head of security is interviewing with a CIA agent, because there is no such thing as ex-CIA, stating that they weren't allowed to.
That's exactly what I'm alluding to. Now, here's the deal. When we did every security event that I ever did throughout Arizona from 2011 to 2013, and there was quite a bit of stuff going on during that time. I had drones in the sky. I had the police, the chief of them, I had them there anyway. I heard the chief of police telling me, oh, you can't have that, you can't have drones. Well, okay, right, I won't have any drones. But I had drones up in the air.
Yep.
And I always had 3 different separate teams, okay? So when I did security for events, and the Oath Keepers hat, throughout my career, nobody was ever hurt. There's a reason for that because of the way I did it. And I think that's the reason why Charlie reached out to me. Charlie was scared in December. He was scared. So anyway, I'm glad to be able to get that off of my chest. Like I said, I've tried talking to the FBI. I've tried to tell them, and nobody wants to listen. So, nobody wants to call me, what have you. So now you have full disclosure. You're welcome to do that information with whatever you like.
Yeah, we'll definitely try to run it down.
Okay, so I did have communication with him. I loved him, and it hurts me that he's gone. And the fact that, like I said, there's 2 questions that should be asked. 1, what did he know in December? And 2, why did he reach out to me?
Now, being devil's advocate, and I'll be devil's advocate here, and I'll state that for the record, let's say, best case scenario, the FBI is aware of all of this. They're keeping all of this in-house, and they're going to reveal all of this during the trial. Maybe the people that were complicit, maybe the shadowy figures that may have been behind a Tyler Robinson, right? That's being devil's advocate. While I'm being devil's advocate, let me also say, maybe that would further explain TPUSA and the members at TPUSA's strange behavior. Regardless of platform, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, if they're posting the amazing, magnificent Mikey McCoy, Rob McCoy, Andrew Covitt, any of them, the conglomerates themselves, TPUS Faith, TPUSA Action, TPUSA itself, Any platform they post, they're getting shredded in the comment section. People asking for Mikey McCoy's call log. Why is it that they're not responding to these people? Why is it that they're hosting podcast shows and they're talking about everything but what the people would like to hear about? Why? Maybe they're afraid for their life. Maybe because all the things that are blatantly obvious to us, they're aware of it. Maybe that would explain why Andrew COVID sent that text thread to the government, because he felt like it would be important. When Charlie said that he felt, no other choice but to leave the pro-foreign nations cause. That one Middle Eastern country that I don't like to name. Maybe that's why. I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt. Now, if I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt, let me keep it funky with you. It is possible. I am not saying that this is true. Allegedly, I am saying that it's possible that Charlie Kirk was aware that he was being used as a catalyst or as a vessel or maybe even as a Trojan horse to push the country in a particular direction, change the narrative around Donald Trump. Notice I didn't say help Donald Trump get elected, because I have my own personal opinions about presidents being elected and selected. But helping the country see Donald Trump in a particular light, helping the country see Kamala Harris in a particular light. Once Donald Trump was elected, just the following month, allegedly, according to this guy, Charlie Kirk was already making phone calls and making DMs, trying to get other people around him because he felt unsafe and there was some shady stuff going on. Maybe some of that shady stuff Charlie Kirk understood was that he was no longer needed. Trump was back in the White House and he would probably become more of a liability than a positive factor for the direction that the country is headed. Maybe that's a possibility. Maybe it's also possible that Charlie Kirk realized that Turning Point USA was being used to do other things with their finances. He didn't understand where the money was coming from, and maybe some of that money was coming from billionaires and organizations and conglomerates from behind the scenes that it was very hard to pinpoint who they are, how to identify them, because that money was being used to do other things, which would further explain the planes that were following them. What could the planes have been doing? I don't know. Maybe the illegal movement of human bodies, if you follow my drift. Maybe the illegal movement or of other things. Allegedly, I'm not saying that this happened. What if is what I'm saying. Charlie Kirk found this out. If you have seen my video, or if you've yet to see my video with the TPUSA auditor, Brian, I would highly recommend you go and check it out. Which, by the way, we got some other stuff coming out here pretty soon. Like later today, tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. And when I say it's major, it's pretty major. It also makes you wonder, when you sit back and think about it, if he was protecting Candace Owens. And that would explain why it is that he didn't have her around as much. Not just because people was, pushing for him for her to be around, because they also did the same thing with Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson was still allowed to speak. Maybe Candace Owens was a bit more vulnerable, and so he decided to protect her by way of not even telling her what was going on to begin with, and just keeping her and loving her from a distance. If you're in fear for your life, essentially, 9 months before you actually lose your life, I highly doubt that some lone power on a roof did it with a 30-06 and your neck was so strong to just eat the bullet. 3,000 pounds of force. Stop it. But y'all in the comment section, let me know what you think about this phone call. It creeped me out. Hit the like button if you do not mind, so this video can reach other people and we can continue to spread this message. Because again, the reason why I'm talking about this Charlie Kirk situation so much, as I've said so many times, for those of you that are wanting my other content, I get it. This is bigger than Charlie Kirk. There are other things going on in this country, and exposing Turning Point USA or some of the potential fraud could lead us to other corruption in the country. I'm Demetrius. I go by Didi. Until next time. Peace.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.